What's going on, squad? It's your man Unspoken Reviews back again with another video. And guys, we finally got the reveal of the new teaser trailer for Marvel's television special presentation, The Punisher: One Last Kill. All right, guys. So I'm excited to see Frank having another special for himself. He had two series that came out, season one and season two. However, while I did like it, I began to ask if they do a season three, where do they go with the Punisher? Now, listen, I love this character. I love the conflicted nature. I love how he's the one guy, well, one of the few guys in the Marvel Comics who's willing to do whatever it takes to get the justice that the system is willing to overlook. And I've always liked the duality of the character, the kind of complex nature and his past, constantly tortures him of losing his family, how that energy always pushes him to go out there and get the same kind of justice that the system tends to overlook, just to this regular street level, eye for an eye justice that people wish they could get every day, every time something wrong is done to them. All right, guys. So it seems that this special takes place, I guess, somewhere after the events of Born Again season two. As you know, during the events of that season, we're hearing constantly, "Where's Frank? I wonder what Frank's doing." And we do know that he shows up in Brand New Day. And we kind of ask ourselves where he's at. And it seems this special presentation is going to answer all of those questions. All right, guys. So it seems that during the teaser, it starts a little bit with Frank being in his minimalistic lifestyle. He doesn't really need a lot for him to live, nor does he want a lot. It seems that he just kind of lives in a small, rundown, one bedroom apartment, and he doesn't have anything in it with him. And what I liked about this teaser is that as he's sitting in this room, you see there's like this flash of soldiers standing around him, almost like the ghosts of soldiers that he has served with, but has since then lost. And he feels alone. And we hear a voice in the background as someone is telling Frank to talk to him. And we do see that it is a vision of Curtis. Curtis, as we have seen in season one and season two, did return to help Frank with any issues that he was dealing with. As we do know, these two did serve together as well. And it seems that I'm not sure, but it would seem that at some point Curtis has died. I'm not exactly sure. The reason I'm saying that is because he flashes in and out with the soldiers that are around the room. I hope that's not the case because I really did love this character, but it seems that his influence is still sensed here in this special. As we do know, Curtis helped out with soldiers that were dealing with the struggles of returning back to the States. He did lose his leg in combat, and since then became a therapist to help people, soldiers, reintegrate into the regular civilian life. And he did a great job. It's much like Sam Wilson. He really does care about the soldiers who have served and the veterans that have served, and knows the difficulties of adapting to the normal civilian life after the things that they have done overseas in war. I just always loved his character. I've always loved his loyalty to Frank, no matter how they may have seen things differently. Anytime, Frank was in a bad place, Curtis was always there. And I loved him in season one and season two. And it seems that it's a possibility that he has died. And I'm not exactly sure of that. But it seems that he is talking to Frank maybe from beyond the grave. We see Frank is still dealing with the loss of his family, how that still lingers on him. And not only that, it seems that we do see some shots of a young girl, and that probably does mimic the memory that he has of his daughter, and which is something that might push him back into action. One of the things that I do love from the teaser is that we see that Frank is just trying to live a regular life. He's trying to let go of the things that he's always done. And this is not the first time he's done this. He did it in season one after he managed to get revenge on the people connected to the death of his family. In season two, he tries to do the same thing. He takes on a new identity, tries to live a regular life, but situations happen and he's forced back into what he does best. And it seems that this special is no different. It seems that he's just trying to live a normal life. And it seems that you can see it as he's walking through the streets. You see all this anarchy happening around him, and he's just trying his best to keep walking and ignore it. And I think that's very interesting for Frank. He has always tried to let go. And it's also like the struggle he has with it, right? He feels this pull to do something. And it's really quick here in the trailer as you see him walking between these two buses. He's walking. It seems that something may have happened because as he's going, there is a vision of someone just like him dressed in the full Punisher gear, right? And he kind of has this moment where he looks at this twin of himself, and it seems like this guilt of his self telling him, hey, look, we need to do something. We can't just keep letting this happen. We need to make something happen. We need to save these people. You know, you want to do something about it. It's like the Punisher and Frank Castle are two different people. And it seems that this special is going to settle that part of him and finally push him into fully accepting into himself, into what he is. I thought that that was possible by season 2 when he says that he already has a job, when Madani tries to give him some work across seas, but he denies that. And, you know, we see him kind of pull out the guns and take out all these criminals in this bunker. I kind of thought that this was the point where Frank had finally settled into himself, but I guess not. One of the things I also like about this teaser is it shows Frank struggling with his Catholic background. If you guys don't know, Frank is from a Catholic background. This is hinted at in Daredevil season 2, the Netflix version, when Matt does bring up if he still goes to mass, and Frank just kind of shrugs it off. He doesn't want to talk about it. And this is something that I feel like if they did a season 3 of Punisher, this is something they could tackle. As Frank is Catholic, we do know that one of the commandments in the Bible is thou shalt not kill. And every single time he does this, it's almost like he's selling a part of his soul. In the teaser, we see that there's gasoline that comes underneath the door. I do think this is a dream sequence because it starts to burn, it catches on fire, and it leads to him. And I like how Curtis's voice kind of twists in the background, where Curtis is telling him, do you think God will forgive us for the things that we've done? He says, I'm not sure about me, but you don't have a effing chance. And I like how the flames start to like consume him. And it seems there's a moment where he just taps into it and he runs at the door. I think this is a moment where he's done walking away from everything that's happening around him and decides to lean into being the Punisher 100% of the time. Right. I think that that's something that's happening. And it's something that I really like. It's something that's also hidden in movies as well. If you guys ever watched the movie Punisher Warzone, which is not the best Punisher movie, but does lean more into a comical aesthetic, it is somewhat of a sequel of the Thomas Jane film, but not exactly. But there's a moment where Frank does go into a church and he's talking to the priest, and the priest does tell him, every single thing you do will be weighed unto you when you stand in front of God. And Frank actually speaks the scripture back to him. And I like that Frank is like that he's okay with that. It's not something I like to hear, but it's a moment where you realize Frank is who he is. And he knows that everything he does is going to have a weight of consequence, but he's coming to a point where he's trying to accept them, realizing that he might be the only one who's willing to do what needs to be done. Most of the Marvel heroes have red tape. They have something that stops them. Frank doesn't have that. He recognizes what he needs to do, and he does it in order to preserve the lives around him. To him, it's like if other people can survive, to him, that's a big win, and he accepts it if that means a sacrifice of himself. We do get a quick ending for the teaser of him wearing the Punisher gear and shooting someone. It seems that probably, to me, that might be the very end of the series. I'm not sure. But I'm super excited to see this special presentation. I'm glad to see Frank getting something else in the MCU, something more adjacent to everything that's going on to the MCU as we know it. Excited to see Jon Bernthal once again. I think he does such a great job as this character. He's one of those actors, when you put him in that role, he just fits the role perfectly. I love Thomas Jane. I love Jon Bernthal in this role, man. He's just perfect for it, and he does a great job by it every single time, man. I love seeing the character. I can't wait to see him in Brand New Day and seeing him going up against Spider-Man. That's going to be very interesting to see. I have heard, I'm not exactly sure of the antagonist, but as I have researched it, I do believe that it is Ma Nucci, which means he is probably going up against more gang violence. And that's something I'm perfectly fine with. That's something that Frank does deal with best. You give him some kind of superpowered villain, he may struggle with that. But if you give him something that is just regular guns or swords or knives, he can handle that just fine. And that's perfectly fit for his type of threat he deals with. I have seen different comics where he's been able to put down super powered beings, and You know, he's capable of it, but he doesn't really need that, you know, and I'm perfectly fine with a street level Punisher. He doesn't need to go up against the big superpower type of individuals. I'm perfectly fine with him going up against average criminals. But that was my thoughts on the trailer, guys. I'm very excited to see this teaser. I'm very excited to see where this presentation goes, the way it connects from Daredevil moving into Brand New Day. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of this teaser, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.